You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast.
What's happening, folks? Hope everybody enjoyed that show. I just wanted to jump on here real quick to do a quick follow-up. I promised you guys a Q&A session. I wanted to make sure we got that. I don't know what was happening over here. She was using a different platform I've never seen before, so I couldn't see what was going on. So anyways, we want to just jump in here. Number one, I want to say hi to everybody that did show up. We got Werewolf 6, Casey, Fruge, Jeff Johnson. Thanks, buddy, for taking care of the mod work. We got Con makes a great point. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, help us out. If you want to support the channel, we got memberships. Those links are down in the description below. Disney up, Boiler up. I saw your comments that you missed last night's show. Was it last night? It's been a long time. James Mix, good to see you, buddy. West Virginia Wire, awesome. Yeah, good to see you. I got Lori Matthews, new background. I'm traveling right now. So we're down in Georgia. Yeah, so we're down in Georgia. I'll be leaving early in the morning. And yeah, so anyways, that's where we're at. I'm hiding from Assad down in the cabin. Yeah, I know. I didn't want to leave you guys without chatting. Wanted to make sure we hit that good. Piece from Central Cali, Bruce Doc Smith, MICP. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for your service. I see there's some sort of badge in there. Man, law enforcement's a rough job right now. It was an interesting discussion. Thank you, Con. It was, yeah, we're going to have Jeanette on again. And, you know, I think she's going to cover that, kind of the psychology behind all this really well. She's been studying it for a long time. And no, that's awesome. Werewolf 6 giving away memberships. Thank you. We're about 45 minutes outside of Augusta. I'll leave it at that. Candace asked me on the run. That's right. I'm in an undisclosed location. Yeah. Keep up the good work. No, again, for those who don't know, we had a death in the family, and that's why we're here. So, yeah. Please check out my guest recommendation and last night's members only comments. I've got a good one. Josh from England. I saw that. Shoot me a link or something, man. dlpodcast@paramountTactical.com. So I can find this guy. I don't know, is that what he goes by? Josh from England? If I just Google Josh from England, does that get me there? So anyways, yeah, law enforcement is tough these days. Constitutionality of Venezuela invasion. Well, I think, again, we have Article 2. I think that what we did in Venezuela is clearly covered in the Constitution and is well within the executive powers as described in Article 2. So that's what I think about that. If we want to go deeper into that, we can. I'm fine with that. No, I will not be stopping in Tennessee. We don't judge grammatical errors unless you're a troll, and then I'm all over it. Yeah, no, thank you all for your prayers. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Cool stuff. You did miss the show. We're just doing a follow-up show. I was actually a guest on Natalie Denise's, but it did live stream. I did simulcast that for my channel as well. So you can go check that out. Yep, I'm right there on the road from Jeff Johnson. I've been by here twice since I've known Jeff, at least twice. And I keep meaning to stop by, but we always kind of come down here in a rush. Last time it was a medical emergency, and now it's a death in the family. Yes, it would. It would be very cool to have been on that mission, without a doubt. Yep, Werewolf 6 gave away a membership. Deb Longo, good to see you, Deb. I think I see you on X, right? I think you're on X as well. No, we're hiding out in the woods right now. I scrolled up. That's what I did. No, we're not hiding out. Visiting family. This is an old house. Yeah, go watch that show. That was a good show. We had Natalie Denise. We had Nathan Livingstone, aka Milk Bar TV from X, and Jeanette Garibian, who is a clinical therapist, psychotherapist. I don't want to get her. I had one of the mods texted me. Yeah, go watch that show. It was a good show. And we're going to get deeper into that as well. We got Rage Bronson up in the chat. Reloading's tough. You know, so you can't do reloading on YouTube. They'll take that down and they'll give you a strike for reloading. I've been thinking about this. I think X is the way to go for more in-depth gun content. So that's one of the reasons I really wanted to start pushing to get numbers up on X, just for that. So stand by for that. That is an opportunity that really until recently I hadn't really thought of. There's no real limitations that I'm aware of on X as far as gun content, obviously as long as you're being safe. So I think that is something that I had written off completely that I think we can actually execute. So that'd be good. Can you explain to me how no one has sued her yet? Well, I think there's some probably in the works. I can't say that for sure. The other thing too is, like, I can tell you for sure that these lawsuits, even to get a lawyer on board to go through it, to really feel good about the case and everything, all that stuff takes time. Nothing in the legal system, especially on the civil side. Well, it's probably equally slow, but I mean, the fact is that the wheels of justice turn slow, so it just takes time. Look at Regina's hooking us up and reposting the stream. Thank you very much. We appreciate you, folks. That's one of the great things you can do if if you're already a member, or maybe you can't afford to be a member, or look, reposting our streams, huge. So, you know, reposting our content is a big deal. So if you do that, we really appreciate that. That's extremely valuable to us. Yeah, I love it. Look at, see, Regina's all over it. Not only retweet it, but and repost that, but it's also tag some friends in that. That'll do it as well. That really helps us out. Yep, make sure you like. Go back, now that that video has been posted, go back and hit like on that video. That helps us too, so we appreciate that. All the likes, I think it helps. I don't know how much it helps. Look, YouTube's weird when it comes to live streams. They don't promote live streams. They don't get picked up in the algorithm the way that normal videos do. But what I can tell you is if you go back after they've been watched, they repost all the likes that you did, all the comments usually that you do during the show go away. Sometimes they don't, sometimes, but like 80% of the time they do. So anyways, that always helps. Yeah, I do like old houses. There's some charm to them, but there's also some other problems with them as well, right? I would definitely tell you guys to go follow Jeanette Garibian. I'm sure it's not in this link, but in this video, because I didn't have time, I just kind of threw this video, or you know, this listing for the video together real quick in like 3 minutes. But in the old one, go give Jeanette. She's smart. She's great. Yeah, go give her a follow. I didn't see that. I didn't see any comments or anything. I couldn't see that. I couldn't respond to them, which is why I wanted to jump on here. So not sure if you saw my super chat during the stream, but today is National Kiss a Ginger Day, so make sure you hit Summer up later. She can be hitting me up. I will definitely do that. So you can handle guns on YouTube. You can't handle guns in a live stream. So that's the difference. Now number one, I have handled guns in a live stream with no consequences. But most people know better than to handle guns. You can handle guns in a normal video, but you're probably going to get demonetized. It just depends. Sometimes they do, sometimes, like, there's no rhyme or reason. And well, what I will tell you is almost every single time that I do any sort of 2A content, gun-related content, self-defense related content, when I post it, it does get demonetized 50% of the time or less than that. You can ask for a review, because I go through and I make that video to make sure that I'm not violating any of YouTube's terms of services, community guidelines. And again, even though that I know there's nothing in violation compared to their community guidelines, I don't know, like probably more like 60 to 70% of the time, they will confirm by review that it's demonetized. They've also been yanking a bunch of my videos just recently that have been up for years and years. And I don't know if they changed something in terms of services. I need to check that, but that's often how that happens. I also think that I think people have been actively, I mean, I've literally had like 6 videos pulled that were over like 2 years old in the last week. So I think there's people actively complaining against that. I'm assuming people are talking about the Chase Hughes video. Yeah, I was planning on getting that posted Sunday. That was my plan, Sunday morning. But again, we had a death in the family on Friday morning, and we packed up and drove down here to Georgia. Yeah, Rumble is 2A friendly. I post all my stuff to Rumble. We get 0 views. If you want to, you might as well go stand at the edge of the Grand Canyon and shout on there. You get about as many views. So they're friendly. I've never received a dime from Rumble either, by the way. There's a whole issue with the pay and what's going on with that. And again, most of the stuff I don't expect to get paid for, but we do put a lot of time, effort, and so getting a little something back for our investment. I mean, we're never breaking even on our social media content. That's just a fact. I mean, where we make our money is what does happen on social media and through YouTube is it does indirectly make people aware of our training and our shop, and so our primary source of income because of social media is through retail sales, which is another way that you guys can support us if you'd like to. One of the things I wanted to bring up tonight that Jeanette kind of touched on a little bit, indirectly, I guess. One of the problems with Candace is she is a person that has clearly never had to face any consequences. I don't think she's ever faced any real consequences of anything, which is why that she acts the way that she does with, clear impunity, whichever way you want to cover it. And so that I do think that if she does, and look, even with this Macron lawsuit, I'm not sure that's going to affect her in any significant way, even though it's going to be, a significant amount of money. I guarantee you it's not going to affect her lifestyle. I guarantee you her finances and her husband's finances are separate. He's, a millionaire 100 times over. So at the end of the day, it's not going to matter that much to her. But I do think that's one of the reasons. It's one of the elements of psychology that's behind who Candace Owens actually is. Yeah, if I was to give advice to anybody at TPUSA, I think they just out of principle, need to sue her. And I think the time has come and gone for, trying to be a peacemaker with her. I think they have been more than gracious to her, and all she's done is attack and get worse and worse. And now the implication is that Erica is part of a, child trafficking network. That's what she's saying. And I think not today's video, but maybe yesterday's. I don't know. I haven't been watching. We've been doing family stuff, and so I just kind of get little glimpses of some of the things that she's said and done through some of the shorts that people are making. But yeah, I think TPUSA out of principle needs to sue her, and they clearly have the strongest case. Yeah, again, even I have early on, I didn't realize that rule existed. So there's been multiple live streams in the past. I think I've taken them down where I handled guns, not knowing that was a thing. But we've also been hit, even when I didn't handle guns. So, for handling guns. They really are. The YouTube gun rules are extremely dumb. And they're completely arbitrary. I got the black lung. Some of the violations they've hit me with, there isn't that anywhere. And they'll even sometimes give you like, oh, it happened here in this portion of the video. You go there and it's nothing to do with that. So, I mean, the reality is we kind of got the eye of Sauron upon us. And I mean, that's just our operational environment. That's what we need to realize. Oh, CJ Correnti gifted 10 Paramount Tactical memberships. Thank you, CJ. Awesome supporter of the channel. Candy is after Liberty University now and stated that Charlie is in purgatory. She just posted something about an hour ago. If anything happens to me, Israel was involved. Curious on your thoughts. I don't know that I have anything to say that I haven't said before on that. I mean, look, Candace is evil. And I don't use that term loosely. I genuinely believe that. She is so vicious, malicious. I find her and her tactics completely repulsive. I mean, everything she does offends me in a way that I don't know that I've ever been that affected by somebody else. And then the fact that so many people buy into it also really offends me. So that's how I feel about it. And it doesn't surprise me. Any Christian, conservative, university, I mean, they're all, it's all open game. They're all fair targets. They do go away. They won't show up in the comment section. They only show up in the live chat or on the replay if you have it set to scroll across the screen. I've seen like 1 out of 50 keep the comments or repopulate the comments. It typically does go away. And then it's reposted as a whole new video. So, all the likes, all the comments, all the things that would normally generate a response by the algorithm, those do go away. Yeah, there's something cool and cozy about some of the older homes. That's true. They're not as energy efficient. They're not as, they got this definitely has some problems for sure, but there's something, I don't know, romantic, dare I say, about some of the older homes that have a lot of character. Yeah, that's what I like to do, Jeff. We'll do some, it's something I've been wanting to do. I was thinking about doing this in a video series that people could purchase. I'm not the first person that's ever done that for sure, but I do think doing something live on X would be really cool. So, and there's a lot of other flexibility that X gives me. And we are going to be shifting back to definitely a lot more gun content. Don't get me wrong, our kind of news, politics content, not going to go away. We're going to continue to do that. I'm thinking about committing to, like, literally the only thing that we really commit to is 1 day a week, Wednesdays. I think we're going to go to a 3-day a week kind of podcast, and then we'll still prioritize some gun content. That'll be more, long form content that I will post as normal videos. That's kind of the plan. Crazy, do you get a notification if somebody reports your channel? No, nothing like that. I just don't, again, I don't have any evidence of that. I just have never seen like so many videos get taken down in, this short of amount of time. So it's really odd. Could be completely something separate. Could be something that they changed in their community guidelines. So it could be related to that. I just find it odd. We are getting, again, constant bot attacks, just silly negative comments, the normal stuff. You suck, Candace is great, that kind of thing. So you work for the Jews, why'd you sell out? My favorite are these people that I've never seen in comments before. And I'm pretty good at remembering, people in comments, people in the chat. I at least recognize them. But it's all these people like, I used to follow you. I followed you regularly. You've changed. You sold out. So that's like a talking point that they got going on right now. That's funny. It's all the rage in the bot world or whatever they are. Yeah, Rumble is challenging to grow. Look, so the problem with Rumble, well, there's a bunch of them, and I wish they were a better platform. The problem with Rumble is that from the user experience, they're not nearly as user-friendly. They're not going to have all the features that YouTube has. And even worse is the creator experience. Uploading, it takes me 3 to 4 times longer to upload a video on Rumble than it does YouTube. And then what'll happen a lot of times, I'd say 50% of the time, that upload will get stuck. And then I have to just I have to make the same, I have to redo like start from scratch, redo the description, title, redo everything, upload another thumbnail. You got to do it all over again. So that's kind of, and then on top of that, you just get, less than 1/100th of the views on Rumble. So I still post there most of the time. If I'm posting a full video, I'm posting over there as well. But it's almost a waste of time. I'm trying to stay quiet. I will say the air quality down here has been kicking my butt, but I am trying to talk quiet and muted a little bit because some people are sleeping. But I do got some, even our dog is sneezing since we've been down here. Other than that, I feel great. Yeah, she's never been held accountable for anything. Erica Kirk will never sue because it's written that Christians are not supposed to sue each other. I don't think Charlie would have sued. I think they just tried to ignore her, but I don't know. That's just my guess. I have to look that up. I've never heard that before from a biblical standpoint. With that being said, I think there's a really, really strong argument that Candace Owens is not a Christian. Again, if you want to look at the fruits of her spirit. Can anyone tell me who her husband is? I've never asked before. I didn't care. I've seen some chatter about him. His name is George Farmer. His father is a lord, and there are some weird connections there. I'm still not that. I know a lot of people are probably going down that way. We might dip our toes in that. I'm just not that interested in her husband. Now, there may be some real connections to him and MI6, and those have been sort of alleged. You're never going to prove that. So I almost feel like it's almost an ad hominem attack, even though there may be some real truth behind that. I think Candace herself is a target-rich environment, and if you can't prove what Candace is doing just using what she's doing, you're never going to convince anybody that there's some, you know, secret connection between her husband, and of course there's John Mappin, who is is a Scientologist. I'm still jealous of him because he does own an actual castle, and I want it. That would be cool. I want a real castle. He has a legit castle. So a lot of weird stuff going back there, but I don't know. I'm just not so much interested in that part of it. Do you think there's any way Candace Owens is being forced? No, I don't think she's being forced to do what she's doing. I think she started off just kind of exploring some things, and then she realized she reacts to stimulus, right? And I think she realized right off the bat that the crazier and the more counter the government narrative that she was, the better response that she got. So I think that's where it started, and then somewhere along the way it was hijacked by, again, I would bet everything that there are legitimate political and foreign adversaries that are exploiting the things that she's doing. There's just too many people that would benefit by what she does for it to not happen. It's implausible that there are not these people that are just paying for bots and paying for push and reach and suppression of opposition voices. There's too many governments that would benefit from what she's doing, and too many political organizations as well. Oh yeah, look, anybody that's going to be suing anybody is definitely going to have the lawyers take a look at the case, see the strengths, merits, and weaknesses of the case. I mean, that's just due diligence. Yeah, like most of these lawyers aren't going to take it, even if you're not, you know, you can obviously get some lawyers on contingency, meaning they only get paid if they win, but still, they're also not interested in wasting their time if they don't think they can win. I'm sure there's some that are. They'll take your money either way, but that's definitely going to happen. That would happen with me. I know would happen with TPUSA. I never thought of that, except I wondered if she was being paid by the left because she doesn't get censored, and I feel she's a leftist in disguise. Look, I think there is a ideological motivation behind platforms like YouTube / Google / Alphabet that are pushing her content. I really, really do. I think these are companies that are aligned with China, that take a much more globalist view of the world. And I don't think they have any loyalty to the United States whatsoever. And they're thinking 50, 100 years from now, and I think they don't believe that. Number one, I think most of these companies are filled with people that hate the principles on which this country is founded and everything that made it great. I really do. And so, you know, from an ideological standpoint, which is their priority, I mean, that they believe in ideology over anything, over any loyalty to country, patriotism, just about anything. So I think these, especially YouTube, is pushing her because of that. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think she would stop even if a judge told her to stop. You're good, Jenny. Do you know if it's true that she lost the kids? You might not even want to comment. Not only do I not think that's true, it's ridiculous. She's not lost the kids. Both of the comments that I've heard referencing this have nothing to do with her losing the kids, and it was someone talking about she lost, it was basically she lost Charlie in the opportunity to be a grandmother with Charlie and to raise her kids with Charlie. That's what that was, those comments were talking about. And Project Constitution, among others, have taken that, twisted around intentionally, and turned it into something it's not. So no, I don't believe there's any merit to any of that. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true. It's very, very difficult to sue someone in another country. So, like, the merits of that case have to be so strong. Again, I plan on having a lawyer on to talk just about that, the Macron case. I mean, look, what we can't have people doing, and again, this should just be a societal norm. It shouldn't be something that you have to take to court. But you can't just lie about people and defame them. And there has to be some sort of consequences. And it's so difficult to sue someone in another country that if it's successful, there was something terribly wrong with the person. If you're in the United States and somebody outside suing you, like, you effed up big time. So, look, I mean, we can't just have a world where there's no consequences, no matter how egregious what you're doing is. So, I think it should be difficult, and it is difficult. You know, right now, I mean, there's, from what I understand, from some of the reports that I've read, is, you know, the UK is going to arrest some people because of, in the United States, if they step on UK soil, would arrest some people because of posts they've made in the US. Now that's a problem. That's a whole different ball of wax. I don't think that should be, that should happen. Vicious behavior is Republican stock and trade. So, Gus Gore, what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to back that up with some sort of example. That's not true. Look, politics is always dirty on both sides, but what we see from the left is far more egregious than what we see on the right, in my opinion. But I'm willing to be wrong, so give me some examples about that. Quixote 7667 just gifted 5 Paramount Tactical memberships. Thank you, Quixote. I agree with that. Again, I've watched about between 20 and over 20, somewhere around 25 episodes by myself, and I just can't do it anymore. It's much more fun going through them with you guys and kind of pointing out all the craziness in real time. Yeah, look, we got a lot of crazy things going on in this world, and I think everybody should always be prepared. Number one, you should be trained, you should be armed. It's your responsibility to take care of you, especially in some sort of mass event. I don't care if we're talking about anything like a natural disaster. I mean, we saw what happened during Katrina and other hurricanes. Like, being able to protect yourself, your family, is your responsibility. 911 is not going to be there. You know, the old saying is, when seconds count, you know, help is minutes away. And that's how that works. So whether we're talking about from a self-defense standpoint, a medical standpoint, you got to be able to protect yourself. And we on the conservative side need to lead by example on that. I'll wait for this clock to quit chiming. So you need to be armed, you need to be trained. I would prioritize medical, and especially if you're a little apprehensive about guns, or you live in an area that has, you know, strict and egregious gun laws, then at a minimum you should be trained to understand how to stop bleeding, and much more advanced than that, right? So, you know, you need to understand what march is. You need to understand how to treat a traumatic injury. And, you know, you also need to take some basic steps. You don't have to go all, you know, survival mode on you and prepper. But, I mean, people don't even carry jumper cables anymore. So just having some basic steps where you are more self-reliant than you were yesterday is something that everybody should be doing. And you should be teaching your kids as well. Basic things like how to start a fire, you know, water procurement, having the ability to have at least, you know, a couple months food on hand, things like that. And then, you know, you take these little baby steps and you get better at it and it gets easier. And then next thing you know, you're living on a cabin in 1,000 acres by yourself and you're homesteading. Yes, I am on Patreon. We do have a Patreon account if you guys want to support that. Just know that, like, you're not going to get anything out of me. What I will do, what I am going to do and commit to is we will be doing, so if you want to support us on Patreon, feel free to do so. I don't promote that. There's different tiers. At one point in time, I was trying to do a bunch of different things for different tiers. That got kind of out of hand. But what I am going to do is I'll do some regular member-only content like we did the other night. We also have our Substack. The other thing that we're going to be doing too is we're going to be implementing a new, it's like super chats. So when you guys give a super chat on YouTube, they take 30% of that. We're going to be implementing or attempting to implement a new system that supposedly works just like super chat, but they only take 10%. So that'll help, and will help continue to monetize what we do so that we can continue to pour back into this channel and do more and more content at a larger level and hopefully continue to grow. But we're doing great, and it's because of you guys, so thank you. Yeah, I'm sure the people are reporting us. Yeah, they don't let us know that. Well, funny story is, for those of you who don't know, I do have a 2-year-old grandson, so I am a grandpa, pawpaw, to be honest, to be exact, which is pretty wild. He's 2 years old. I'm still figuring that whole thing out or adjusting to it. So it's pretty wild. Have you tried re-uploading a video that's been taken down, or is it too much a risk? Yeah, so I have tried that. Look, I think these algorithms, especially on YouTube, are far more, I've done this a bunch of different ways. I've even like chopped it up, tried to change up the video, took what I thought was whatever caused the issue out. And so far I haven't had good luck with that. But I do think the algorithms on YouTube especially are much more sophisticated than we really understand. $7,000 for that Paramount Tactical Pizza party should go a long way. Yeah, no, you're not crazy. The upload is literally 3 to 4 times longer. What'll take in, like, I don't know, 4 hours, like a 20-minute video, 4K, might take 4 to 6 hours, depending on, you know, the exact length and what bit rate I shot it at and things like that, and frame rate and all those things. I mean, it'll take 12 to 16 to even longer, and then a lot of times I have to re-upload it because it gets stuck. Marlene Burner says, sorry about your loss, keeping your family in prayer. God will handle Candace. He always brings the truth to light, but in his time we have to keep moving forward. Yeah. Let me get real with you guys for a minute. I have felt spiritually compelled, and maybe I'm delusional, but I don't think so. I have felt very compelled to push back on Candace. I guess I'll leave it at that. Like, I could be doing so many other things that would be more beneficial, that would have no negative impact on us. There's only negatives to doing some of the things we've done with Candace. But I think it's really, really important. I have felt an urgency, and I just think that it's really important to stand up. And what I will say, and you know what, I'm going to take a little credit. I think between what we did on YouTube and some of the posts and the videos and the things that we've shared on X, I think they've made a real difference. I see people, like I would see 90% support, 10% resistance when it came to Candace Owens. Prior to, I think it was early December, I posted the first real negative video that was clearly directed at Candace, and I used her content. And now it's almost the opposite, or at least on my feed. But I think generally speaking, a lot of people, I think courage is definitely contagious, and I think people woke up to what's going on, and I think I've made a difference. I don't know, maybe that's my own hubris speaking, but I do think it's made a difference, and I think it's important. And again, you know, that's how I feel about it. As an audience member, Rumble is very far right-wing central, insane content like Nick Fuentes and Jeremy McKenzie. The ads are also notably worse. Everything about Rumble is worse. You can actually, your algorithm and your feed is going to be much more far right. You can actually find just as crazy far left, and I have. I will say Rumble's consistent about that. Yes, there's a lot more of the right-wingers that gravitate toward YouTube, because it takes so much more to get kicked off of, gravitate toward Rumble, because it takes so much more to get caught. You have to be like crazy far left to get kicked off of YouTube. So you see some of the worst, like this is so leftist that YouTube's not even going to put up with it, so they end up on Rumble. But yeah, you definitely see a lot more of the right-wingers just because they were banned on YouTube a long time ago. Why aren't you working for ICE? Because I got other things to do. I mean, I could be doing a lot of different things. I want to work for myself. So that's why I don't work for ICE. That's why I'm not in the military, which I loved. I think it was definitely time to get out. And I definitely wouldn't have stayed in through the Biden administration. But I hated working for, like, the last thing I want to do is work for a federal agency, period. Yeah, there's lots of benefits. It's not what I want to do. Lori Love for USA. Sorry, Gary, I don't get on X. I had a hard time getting on to Rumble the last time you had a podcast after having Jay Wood on. That's when you had one right after the other. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, X isn't for everybody. I'm still figuring X out. I think that X is going to be a far bigger contender against YouTube in the very near future. They're doing more video. I think it's going to, ultimately, I think and I hope that it will overtake YouTube. It's moving more toward a video platform. And they haven't got everything worked out right, but everything you can pretty much do on YouTube now you can do on X, just a little clunkier, but I think it's what Rumble should have been. But it's also still got that X kind of format to it. It's not a video-centric platform right now, but I think it's headed in that direction. Gary, have you ever listened to Valhalla VFT? He's a fellow first grouper, but sounds like conspiratard. Yes, I've been on a Valhalla channel a couple of times, and he's been on mine. And I think in this last iteration of this whole Mitch controversy, we were working on things together, and he has now went one direction and I've gone another. So I'll leave it at that. I got no ill will towards Nate, and I wish him all the best. I have read the Bible chronologically. It's amongst the apostles, but I don't think it was taken out of Jesus' mouth. He just encouraged us to work together, which is all God ever wanted. I agree. You know, I don't know. That's something I always struggle with, right? Like, I don't think that God wants, Christians shouldn't be pushovers. Yeah, we should forgive. I don't know. I think there's, oh, you got to feel like you got to do what's right. Maybe that's something, and every instance is different too, right? It's hard to say, it's wrong to sue, it's right to sue. I think you got to kind of figure that out for yourself. Maybe talk to a pastor, pray about it. I don't think that it's morally wrong or unchristian to sue. I don't believe in a litigious society, but I do believe that if somebody is doing something wrong and they're causing you extreme harm, then I think that's an avenue, and it's a peaceful avenue, by the way. It's not like, if I did what I want to do, I'd just go kick down a door, drag somebody out, and tune them up a little bit. But God and the law frown on that. Look, Jesus was perfect and was a pacifist. I'm neither. I'm working on all those things. Gary, thank you for your voice and massive respect for everything you do. It's hard to overstate the importance of bravery of your work. God bless. Well, thank you. Cool stuff. We'll see you next time, too. Thank you, man. And I could be wrong, and this is just my take on it. I don't think that Candace actually ever loved Charlie. Maybe she had a crush on him or something like that. But I think that she saw Charlie as an accomplishment. That's my take. Completely unfounded, just my opinion. I got no evidence behind that. That's just after studying Candace, and I feel like I got a pretty good understanding how she sees the world. And maybe that's very ungenerous and could be completely wrong. And it probably is, by the way. That's my opinion. Why did the Catholic Church quit casting out demons, or was that only Exorcist movie? No, they still do exorcists. I'm sure they don't do them as much, but they still do exorcisms. She wants to be the substitute for TPUSA, harness all that voting power. I agree with this. Look, I think the worst thing that you can do to Candace is throw her in the back seat. And it's clear that from behind the scenes, given how many large companies that had every incentive to hire her have indeed fired her. So I don't think she's very easy to work with. And then she clearly holds a grudge like just about no other person I've ever seen. So, I think she is very spiteful. And I do think that, look, I don't think any of this is about money. I think she wants to be seen as the top influencer, or whatever you want to call it. Like, she doesn't like being second fiddle to anyone. And unfortunately, I think she took a really short, she's, sure, she had one of the #1 podcasts is no longer there in the world, which, by the way, I'd have to look at the U.S. I don't know if she ever had the #1 podcast in the U.S. So I think that also kind of indicates some foreign influence where they're creating views overseas for her. Again, this is all speculation. This is my thoughts on it. But I think that also drives her influence, and I think that there was a lot of people that found what she was doing useful and therefore helped promote her. Paramount, what is the measure for damage that Candace is causing TPUSA? Their views are down, but they're also down not being in an election cycle. No info on how donations have been impacted. The last I heard, donations were actually up. Look, I think what Candace has done is some irreparable damage to their reputation. And I don't, you know, before Charlie, TPUSA was seen as this, seen for what they are. I mean, look, I don't think there's any real indication or evidence that they have ever done anything nefarious. I'm sure they're not a perfect company, and I'm sure they've probably made some mistakes, but they've never done anything like what they're being accused of. On top of that, you know, the other big indication is that the Biden administration was going after them hard. They were trying to remove their charity listing, right? I don't know if they're a 501c3 or whatever they fall under, but they were going after them hard. So, you know, they had to have they survived that, and that's because they had their books and everything that their company structure in order. You talk about a Doge as far as that goes, you know, I mean, I don't think it gets any more serious than that. So they survived that, and I think they have always been above board. But the reputational damage that Candace has done to them, I think it's going to be hard to recover from. So that's what I would say. Gary, sorry to change the subject. I get a lot of political texts requesting money from the Republican Party constantly. I feel like it's all a scam now. Should I be donating any more? I mean, that's up for you to decide. You know, if look, the other, I mean, not only do I get a bunch of requests for donations from Republicans, the other thing I get is every single gun lobby group, whether it's FPC, Gun Owners of America, NRA, or whatever else. I constantly get calls from them, and also like, you know, I don't like police groups, law enforcement groups as well. I mean, that's for you to decide. The calls are going to stop. So, I mean, I figure out, you know, what candidate I would do some research. What I don't like, this is where I try to, if I'm going to give money, and I have in the past to political organizations, people, and everything else, I would find what matters to you, whether that's a candidate or whatever else, local, state, federal, like, you know, find somebody that you actually care about and want to make sure that you can help them get elected, and do so. So just giving to these PACs, I've done it, but you know, that's for you to decide. What I don't, and one of the things that bothers me about Candace is that, like, there is a major attempt to throw the baby out with the bathwater. They're attempting to highlight all the negatives. Well, they're trying to black pill you, right? You know, Dan Bongino and others have talked about this, and that's what it's this nihilistic approach where it's like, no candidate's any good. The Republicans suck, Democrats suck. Like, stop. So first of all, there's a huge difference. Republicans are not perfect. Conservatives not perfect. There's lots of problems. There's lots of problems with our system. There's lots of problems with different lobby groups. All of those things are real. That being said, there's a vast difference between what the Democrats want to do with this country and what the conservative movement wants to do with this country. And I'll be the first to say that I've always been disappointed that the conservative movement didn't go on the offensive more. And maybe they are just slowing the inevitable, but I'd rather slow the inevitable, and maybe somewhere in there we have a freaking Hail Mary and are set up to where, whether we have a great candidate come on, we have an opportunity to have major reforms within our government, our political system, the way our country operates. I don't know, but what I do know is voting for Democrats is voting for the fastest possible way to destroy this country and everything that's ever stood for. So don't get black-pilled. Don't take this nihilistic approach that nothing matters. It matters. And a Trump administration that has closed the border, as well as I meant to do it the other night. There's like 50 good accomplishments that the Trump administration has pulled off in just a year. And no, I'm still disappointed that we haven't done more. I'm pissed off about this immigration. You know, I posted on X today. You know, you have all these Democrats and these liberals posting stuff showing ICE grabbing these people, these illegal immigrants, and they're like, "Oh, is this what you voted for, Republicans?" And I'm like, "No, it's not what I voted for. Like, we need to get those numbers up." And I mean that. Like, what we are doing as far as getting rid of illegal immigrants out of the country is not even a drop in the bucket. And I feel like it's just a little bit of pandering to the base. Like, oh, we got a few of these. Like, look, we have somewhere between 10 and 20 million illegal immigrants, and it's probably far more. There's been estimates all the way up to 100 million. I don't know if it's that, but I do think it's more than 10 million for sure in this country. So we have 10 million. Like, we need to be shooting for at least 5 million deportations per year. That's 13,000 and change per day, 365 days a year. So really, it needs to be like 15, 20,000 a day, 5 days a week. So that's what I'm voting for. I want illegal immigrants out of this country. Like, you can't come here illegally. You can't be a parasite and take the resources that we've all worked for. Like, that can't be a thing that we allow, because all that does is incentivize the problem, right? And it's gonna cause more people to come. For chicken feed on the plates behind you. Yeah, there's some. I don't even know what song is. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any sympathy for Renee Good either. I'm sad that it happened, but she put herself in that situation. She made a series of bad choices, and ultimately she was held accountable for those choices. And it's unfortunate to her family and friends and people that love her. But we got to have law and order, and you can't. If there's a police officer, I don't care if it's a police officer's fault or not, and there's a whole discussion of what is tactically sound and what's not. But the fact of the matter is when that engine revs, and that police officer, I believe that police officer was coming over to actually get to the window. He was moving in that direction, but he never got there. And once he's in front of that vehicle and that engine revs, he hears it and he hears the tire slip. He reacted how most of us react. He doesn't have the benefit of hitting pause, slowing everything down, looking from multiple angles, looking at the angle of the tires. He didn't see where those tires were pointed one way or the other. He still was hit with the vehicle. So from a legal shooting, not only was it sound, it was the right response in my opinion. And again, for those you don't know, I used to train federal agents for the Department of State Diplomatic Security. That was my job. I was a Special Tactical Instructor. Did that for many years. I later on became a unit chief for a program out there. I was always a third-party contractor. Never actually worked directly for the U.S. government. Was always on the training side. So for all the people that want to turn me into some sort of weird Fed that was doing intel, and they're like, no, all I did was training. But regardless, what I have done is I've sat through all the legal briefs on use of force. I've sat through case studies. I used to design training scenarios with all of shoot, no shoot response tactics into those training scenarios. And everything that we see there is textbook clean shoot, whether you like it or not. Yeah, there's a lot of this going on. Andrew Mercado Media. I don't even know who this guy is. Sounds like a real winner. Told everyone to follow and harass conservative journalist Nick Shirley. Be careful out there. Yeah, look, I mean, the left is vicious. And honestly, the only people that I found more vicious than the left, and I think I'm repeating myself, are the candy cultists. They're just as vicious. I met my wife's parents, so there's that. I met my kids' grandparents. How about that? I agree with you. I let them come in just far enough so I can get a clean shot. Boom. Of course, I have to use weapons such as we're talking about animals or something like that. Belgian mountain law. All right, so this is a comment that I hear all the time, and I'm just going to address it directly. Team Candace, at least she's trying to find out what really happened to Charlie, not buying the lame ass FBI BS, as if they haven't lied about the Epstein and JFK. List goes on and on. Okay, just because all right, and the FBI that we have now, the people in charge. Number one, this is not an FBI case. This is the state of Utah. The FBI has no jurisdiction. They've assisted in this case. You're free to choose what you believe. Just understand that, yeah, the FBI and the authorities are going to lie to you, and I've said this a million times. I'm sure I'll say it a million times more in the next coming months. But you know what else? You know who else lies? Social media lie, and they lie more. As a matter of fact, it wasn't the government that told you that Charlie Kirk was killed by an exploding microphone, electrified microphone, iPhone guns, palm guns, camera guns, flying drone guns, whatever else. Those are all mutually exclusive. So those are lies. They have to be. At the end of the day, what everyone needs to understand is they have to judge each situation. I think we can agree that there are times that the FBI doesn't lie. Like, they don't lie about everything. We can also agree, I hope, that there's a lot of conspiracies that are just wrong, whether we're talking about QAnon, and there's many more. I could come up with 20 more if I really sat and thought about this. But the fact is, and QAnon's a great example of this, because not only was it a conspiracy, I do believe that was a psychological operation that was sophisticated and put out to discredit the right. And I think this is very similar to that. So you can believe whichever you want. She's not trying to get to the truth, and that is evidenced by the fact that she's never actually gone there. She doesn't interview eyewitnesses. She's never brought on lawyers to talk about the case. She's never talked about the terrain other than lies. When she's saying that, you know, you have to scale the roof like Spider-Man, that's a lie. She's never explored the idea where the evidence points, and that is all the physical evidence points to Tyler Robinson being the shooter. She's tried to direct everybody away from Tyler Robinson and the left. So you can believe what you want, but I disagree with your assessment on everything. At the end of the day, there's a lot of physical evidence that if you want to just throw out, you can, but it doesn't make sense to. And then you're expected to believe all these other things that take place that have no evidence either. There's no receipts for them. There's no receipts for these Egyptian planes. There's no real receipts for, you know, Mitchell Snow. There's no receipts for 1,000 other things. You're asking me to believe and participate in a mental illness, and I'm not going to. At my grandpa's house, there was two rooms added, and there was the building called the outhouse. We're not far off from that here. I think they've changed that. I think it's bigger than 15 gigabytes. I don't know that there is a limit on YouTube. I think I've uploaded, when I first started shooting, when I got serious about YouTube, I was shooting like 4K, like the highest bit rate. And I mean, like a 40-minute video was, close to like 100 gigs. It was stupid. And with no resolution improvement or anything. So I think, I don't know what it's high. I think it's probably at least 100 gigs. I know I've uploaded like 80 gig videos for sure. Yeah, if you guys haven't done it so already, make sure you like, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can become a member. Not down in this description, but in the other video descriptions is our newsletter. If you want to get on our newsletter, it is a Substack. There's an opportunity in there. If you want to support us, you can become a subscriber. And there's different levels and all the stuff. So if you want to help us out with that too, but we don't sell your information and we don't spam you. I might put out a newsletter like once every 3 months. Gary, you have a wisdom about you and a professional way about you that what you say impacts. It is good to hear your wisdom on Crazy Candy. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. What do you think about everything they're saying about TPUSA? Is it all true? I haven't found anything that they've said about TPUSA on the negative that is true. We'd have to go through some specifics. I mean, I've addressed most of these things in previous live streams or videos or whatever else. So I've spent a lot of time addressing these. We had Robert Barnes on to talk about some of the accusations that I know Wolves in Finance put out regarding their books and their structure, and claiming that they hadn't filed some of their 990s, amongst other things. None of that's true, and I can say that with confidence. And by the way, the IRS would be all over them if they did, regardless if it's a Trump administration or not. A lot of the other things, even some of the things that Candace claimed at the front, like Mikey McCoy acting weird and saying that he was on the phone with somebody else, like that's been debunked through Candace. Candace, when she met with Erica, they showed her the call log. And what was crazy to me was that she just kind of glossed right over that. I was like, yeah, okay, so he was on the phone with some of the people that he said he was. And we have the full call logs, and yeah, okay. And then she just moved on, as if she hadn't been using that as the catalyst for all of the conspiracy theories around TPUSA and saying that they were involved in this. So, and there's a lot of the misstatements by TPUSA. They've been covered by TPUSA. You can believe them or not, but I mean, what you had was you had all these different people seeing things from different perspectives, and they didn't have their story straight because they weren't colluding to get a story straight. And most of these statements were right at the beginning when there was no, like I can tell you for sure, just from discussions that I've had with Andrew Colvett and other people, like they weren't expecting to be accused of Charlie's murder. It was so outlandish and so crazy that that's not what they were prepared for. Probably in retrospect, they probably should have hired one of these companies that handles these crises, but suddenly there was these people that are just, kind of helping Charlie run a nonprofit. And suddenly they're basically under this investigation being launched by this public person demanding, number one, accusing them of murder, accusing them of something different every single day, constantly moving the goalpost. And then the expectation is that they respond to every one of these accusations and prove themselves innocent. I mean, everybody should be morally outraged just on that. That's not American, that's not correct, that's not moral or ethical, and yet for some reason we not only accept it, there's a large portion that encourage it, and then it's monetized. It's crazy. How many people told me they were too scared to speak out against her? I was begging bigger platforms to at least listen to what she was saying, and finally people are, and I'm so grateful. So that was kind of what was going on with me. I was doing my own investigation, wasn't paying attention at all to Candace Owens till about mid-November. Because I kept hearing about these conspiracies, and I remember what it came down to was like, somebody was like, well, what about the Egyptian planes? I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I realized that all these other weird conspiracies that I hadn't linked directly to, people were bringing up in the comments, and I was just kind of brushing them off or whatever else. And then I realized, you know, they were coming from Candace Owens. So probably about mid-November is when I was aware of what was going on and what she was saying, and that's when I started looking at her content. And then I was just like going back and looking at some of her stuff and hearing the things she was saying, and I was just shocked that, number one, I wasn't hearing people speak out against her, and number two, I couldn't believe that people were believing this crazy stuff. So that went on for 2 weeks, and I'm like looking for people that are speaking out against this. And by then I was like, look, man, this is damaging to the fabric of our nation. Like, when such untruths can be pushed and be accepted as truths, this has to be addressed head on. And I think it was, I spent some time thinking about it, and and you have to understand at the time, you have to understand like how popular Candace actually was at the time. Even more so than now by a lot. I mean, she was getting millions and millions of views. Everybody was riding in her wake. And, you know, again, I just thought, like, I can't stay silent on this. I got to push back. And I genuinely thought, I finally put the first video that I did together about her, and I genuinely thought, like, dude, I'm going to lose 100,000 followers after this video. And that's not what happened. We've lost some, we've gained some. You know, we're just filtering out what we don't need. I don't care. I don't need this platform. If social media went away tomorrow, I'd probably be in a better place. Like, I could run our business, do the things, and just do what I love. I like doing this. Don't get me wrong. I like doing social media, and I think we're going to continue to do it even after Candace is gone, and cover more kind of news and everyday topics and politics. I want to do that, and I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm still going to do all the gun stuff, but yeah, like, you know, I thought it was going to be a huge risk, and I was shocked that nobody else was doing it. And yeah, I mean, we got attacked immediately, and we lost some people, but we also gained a lot. And I don't know, the rest is history. But yeah, it's disappointing that more people weren't speaking out about it sooner. Yeah, you know, that's what we're going to do. Look, I appreciate you guys in the audience more than you can realize. That being said, if there was one of you here, if there's nobody in this chat, well, probably not tonight, because again, if there's nobody in the chat, I'm not going to agree to do a little extra bonus stuff to answer questions. But all the videos I made, I would make them regardless of who's watching. I'm not going to be captured by my audience. If you're here to hear what Gary thinks, great. If you disagree with me, great. Doesn't matter. I want you to disagree with me. I want you to challenge me on what I believe. And I'm here to do the same thing with you. So, but my message isn't going to change. Gary, do you think everything that they're saying? I must have scrolled back up. I don't know if that's what happened with this. I don't think any of the stuff they're saying is true. My chat keeps jumping on me. I'm way behind. Like, this one was 11:09. What time is it? Yeah, so we're way behind. We're going to go down to new comments. I'm going to jump down here, and I think I got a couple super chats too. And we're going to call it a night. I got to get up early and drive 10 hours. Number one, Domsey, who was on the show yesterday, on the members only show. It was great to talk to you in person, Domsey, or at least virtually. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. And she just gifted out 10 memberships. As soon as Candace demanded the footage behind Charlie, then said TPUSA was lying, I tuned out. Then Israel blaming. I just can't with her. Yeah, I agree with you. None of it makes sense. That's like, you got to make it make sense for me. Yeah, she'll always have a following. I think this is going to damage her credibility in ways that she doesn't even realize. And I think, in retrospect, many people will realize that they've been told a lie and we're taking on this adventure. she's going to lose a lot. And I don't ever, like, I think my hope is that, like, her peak that we saw in this will be her peak, and that's as high as she'll ever get. Who knows? Maybe I'm underestimating her. Maybe one day Gary will break out of his shell and really tell us how he truly feels about our comment in me. Maybe so. Yeah, she is mocking Christians. That won't get. Look, I'm a Protestant. I have some real issues with the Catholic Church. No offense to anybody that's Catholic out there. That being said, I still see them as our Christian allies, right? And I don't have a problem with Catholics. I have a problem with the Catholic Church and some of the controversies and other things too. That being said, who am I to say that, you know, if you're a Catholic, you're not going to heaven or whatever else? I'm very careful. You know, there should be some godly fear in you when you start criticizing a different religion or you start criticizing church leaders. I don't care who they are. And I think if you're doing that all the time and without any reservation, man, you're treading on some thin ice, I think. And why? You know, like that's your job isn't to go out there and like to bash another religion. And I think people that do that, I'm scared for them. Yeah, you know, this is one of the, I mean, many issues that I have with Candace. The fact that people really see her as like this investigative journalist that's, you know, doing things effectively, ethically. Like, what in crazy town are you living in? Like, I don't even know how to, like, you're just sitting there waiting for tips to come in by unvetted sources. You're never going there yourself. You're never hiring professionals to go look into certain elements that really you need some sort of experience and skill set to look in effectively. It's a little bonkers to me. Yeah, A-Flame. I'm always watching you on X. Man, you're doing some awesome work out there. You and I need to talk offline sometime. If you guys aren't following Flame on X, you guys should. He's doing some good stuff. There's another guy, Ghost, another guy that does some great things too, that has done some, I don't know, I guess I would call it some like forensic data analysis that, you know, going out there doing good things. So I'm watching you, buddy. Just want you to know that. It is spiritual. One of the things I covered in, I'm going to kind of close with this. I need to go to bed. But one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is like, how can all of this stuff that is so illogical make sense to so many people? And I talked about this in our members only. And it dawned on me what we're dealing with is relativism, right? This is something that Jordan Peterson has talked about so long. And I never really understood the dangers of it, the way that he was expressing it, until I thought about it in this perspective. But kids, number one, that are learning their morals and values from leftist ideology, primarily in our public schools. And there is no more right and wrong. Everything is relative, including like the hard sciences. That's why, you know, this woke ideology is pushing that, you know, even math, 2 + 2 isn't 4. So we've no longer, there is nothing black and white. There is no actual facts. And people have been conditioned to think this way. And that's why that Candace is so effective. Even people that think they're conservative, their brains have been so warped to not look at things from facts and logic and evidence perspective, or even when facts, logic, and evidence points to the opposite of what they believe. Like, again, they've been so, like, relativism is the original mind parasite, right? The mind virus. And that clouds everything, like everything that we see and through the lens that most Americans see. So, you know, for some of us that happen to be lucky enough to be old enough, don't get me wrong, there's lots of folks out there that are younger than I am. I was born in 1980, right? So I was kind of the last of the Generation X. But our minds were molded differently than so many of today. And even people from my generation, depending on where you're at and where you went to school and things like that, you got more of that than I did. And then, of course, you know, some people's minds just work differently. But that's what we're facing right now, is this moral relativism. Some of these people know that Candace is wrong on like all fronts, but they think because she's earnest in her pursuit of justice, it doesn't matter. So you blend that with the fact that we are primed with not trusting the government. So anything the government says, we automatically reject, no matter how much evidence supports it. And then you have somebody over here that's a crusader, that is righteous, that is pushing this nonsense. It's okay if it's nonsense because her intentions are good. So through moral, ethical, logical relativeness, it all makes sense, and it's okay if they're not right. So I think that's something that, you know, people need to realize for sure, and that's what's going on with a lot of this. All right, folks. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Look, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Yeah, no, we appreciate your support. We will have a podcast tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I'll be traveling most of the day. I got a really great 2 guests for you, so make sure you tune in tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I haven't had a chance, and I probably won't have a chance to put up the podcast, so it'll probably be like a few minutes before, but know that I will be doing a podcast tomorrow. I'll make some posts about it. I just won't have it listed probably till about 6 or 7 p.m. when we actually get in town or get home. So anyways, make sure you tune in tomorrow. It's going to be a great show, and I appreciate all of you. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.